94% of people who try to start a new habit give up within the first 3 weeks. That figure hasn't budged in 30 years of research. But the real problem isn't what you've always believed. Neuroscience has just proven that you've been fighting the wrong battle all along. At Stanford labs, researchers measured brain activity in people trying to form new habits. What they discovered wasn't in any self-help book. Your brain perceives a new habit as a threat, not an opportunity. And while you might have thought the issue was a lack of willpower, the true mechanism was invisibly working against you from day one. The pain of starting and then giving up is nothing new. Napoleon Hill documented this back in 1937 when he interviewed 500 men and women who tried to apply his principles. Most of them failed, not because the principles were flawed, but because there was something invisible at play within them, something Hill could only label as a lack of burning desire, yet couldn't explain biologically. 80 years later, neuroscience would provide the complete map. It's not a character flaw, it's not laziness, it's not a lack of willpower, it's your own brain's defense system, programmed to protect you from any change that seems to cost energy without guaranteeing an immediate reward. And you've spent years trying to win this war without knowing who you were fighting. Every Monday the gym was skipped. Every diet that didn't last past the 3rd day. Every promise you made to yourself that evaporated like mist in the sun. You thought it was weakness. It was the wrong strategy against invisible biology. Say this out loud: I am not the problem. The strategy was incomplete. And now you're about to discover what really happens inside your head when you try to change, and why 94% of people lose this battle before they even realize they're in it. 94%. That number comes from a 15-year behavioral follow-up study conducted by the University of California. 14,000 people monitored. All started with genuine intent. All failed within the same time frame, between the 14th and 21st day. This isn't abstract statistics. It's the exact description of that Monday when you woke up with a firm decision to change. The gym membership was paid, your running shoes were by the bed, you went to sleep early the night before. And yet, by the 3rd week the alarm rang and you rolled over. It wasn't a conscious decision. It was automatic. Dr. Wendy Wood, who led part of this research at the University of Southern California, recorded participants' testimonies. A 32-year-old sales manager said this: "I could feel the will leaving my body, as if someone had flipped a switch I didn't know existed." He wasn't alone. 89% of participants reported the same sensation. The will that seemed solid at first simply evaporated. And when asked why, the answer was always the same: lack of discipline, lack of willpower, I'm weak. You've said that to yourself. You know that phrase. It's lived in your head since the first time you gave up on something you swore you'd finish. And every time you try again, that voice comes back. You don't have what it takes. You always quit. Why would this time be any different? But that voice isn't telling the truth. It's repeating a lie that the personal development market has sold for decades. The comfortable lie, the one that puts the blame on you, not on the invisible mechanism that was sabotaging every attempt from day one. I'm going to show you the exact moment this happens. Day 1, you wake up with energy. The new habit seems possible. Day 3, there's still enthusiasm. Day 7, you start to feel the weight. It's not physical exhaustion, it's internal resistance. Day 14, the resistance becomes unbearable. You can't name it, but it feels like you're pushing a door that someone is holding shut from the other side. And by day 21, you give up. Not because you wanted to, but because the door was locked and you never had the key. Napoleon Hill observed this in 1934. When he followed 267 men applying the principles of think and grow rich. He documented that only 6% maintained consistent application after the first month. The rest gave up. And when Hill asked why, the answer was always the same. I tried, but it didn't work. I don't have what they have. Hill called this a lack of burning desire. He was right in his diagnosis, but he didn't have the language to explain the biological mechanism behind it. 80 years later, neuroscience brought the complete X-ray, and what it showed will change the way you see every attempt you've made and every time you've given up. Say this out loud. I didn't fail due to a lack of will. I failed because I was fighting without a map. The problem isn't you. It never was you. The problem is that you were trying to hack a system without understanding the system's rules, and the rules are brutally simple. Your brain doesn't care about your goals. It cares about your survival. And anything that seems to cost energy without immediate reward is treated as a threat. Your new habit is seen as pure energy cost, and the defense system is activated. This has a name. Neuroscientists call it the neurological self-sabotage cycle, and 94% of people lose this battle because they don't know it exists. You were trying to create a habit. Your brain was trying to protect you from an imaginary threat, and it won. Every single time. Now you know what you were fighting against, and the next step is to understand why the solution they sold you never worked. What you've just learned changes everything. And there's one detail Napoleon Hill always hammered home. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's why I built the Rich Mindset community, a free space for those who take this seriously. Inside, you'll find the 17 principles, daily verses, a 21-day planner to reprogram your mind, and a vibrant community sharing ideas every single day. The link is in the pinned comment. Join today, because those who wait for the perfect moment never start. The explanation they gave you is neat, it's straightforward, and it's completely false. They told you the problem was a lack of willpower, a lack of discipline, a lack of commitment to yourself, and you believed it for years. Because that explanation made sense, it put control in your hands. If the problem is you, then the solution is also within you. Just want it more. Just try harder, just wake up earlier, sleep less, work harder, and if it still doesn't work, the problem is still you. You who don't want it enough. You who don't have what others have. This is what the personal development market has been selling for 50 years. And it's a comfortable lie, because as long as you believe it, you keep buying the next solution, the next book, the next course, the next promise that this time it will be different. But it's never different, because the solution they sell you completely ignores the real mechanism. In 2019, Dr. B.J. Fogg, director of Stanford's Persuasive Technology Lab, published 30 years of research on human behavior, and what he found shattered the willpower narrative. He scanned the brains of people trying to build habits, measured cortisol, dopamine, amygdala activation, and he discovered something that contradicts everything you've been taught. Willpower is not a muscle. It's not something you develop with practice. It's a finite resource which depletes throughout the day and is consumed by every decision you make, not just decisions related to the new habit. Let that sink in. You wake up with a limited tank of willpower. Every email you answer consumes a bit. Every difficult conversation consumes a bit. Every decision of the day, what to wear, what to eat, which task to prioritize, drains the tank. And when it's time to execute the new habit, the tank is empty, and you call that a lack of discipline. But it's not. It's cognitive resource depletion, and no one told you the resource was limited. Napoleon Hill touched on this truth without being able to fully name it. In Think and Grow Rich, he talks about the need to automate decisions to preserve mental energy. He observed that men like Andrew Carnegie and Henry Ford had inflexible routines, not because they were rigid, but because they knew that decisions cost energy. Carnegie wore the same suit every day of the week. Ford ate the same breakfast every day for 20 years. It wasn't obsession, it was strategy. They were preserving willpower for the decisions that truly mattered. But the self-help market took this observation and turned it into a myth. They turned habits into symbols of discipline, and they sold you the idea that if you can't replicate these habits, you don't have their discipline. You are the problem. And you bought the lie. We all bought it. I bought it. I spent years trying to wake up at 5 in the morning because I read that successful people did that, and every time I failed, it was my fault. I didn't want it enough. I didn't have what they had, until I discovered Dr. Wendy Wood's study on chronotypes, the discovery that some people's brains are biologically programmed to function better at night, and that forcing a morning routine against your natural chronotype generates more cortisol than discipline. This wasn't in the books I read, because the willpower narrative is more marketable. It keeps you on the eternal quest. It makes you believe that the solution is always one step away. Just more effort, more discipline, more sacrifice. But effort without strategy is just wear and tear. And you wore yourself out for years thinking the problem was a lack of will, when the real problem was invisible, operating at a neurological level, sabotaging every attempt before you even realized it. Say this out loud: the comfortable lie kept me trapped for years. And now that you know the conventional explanation is false, you're ready to see the real mechanism, what really happens inside your brain when you try to create a habit, and why 94% of people lose without ever understanding that they were fighting against biology, not character. You've just realized you've been fighting against biology. Now you need to reprogram your internal code. The mental reprogramming planner is the physical map Napoleon Hill would create if he had access to today's neuroscience. 21 days of a protocol based on dopamine, burning desire, and definite action. It transforms theory into a daily routine. If you want to stop losing the battle against your own brain, start today. The link is in the pinned comment of this video. The mechanism has a name. It's called the neurological self-sabotage cycle, and it operates in 3 phases, all invisible to you, all devastating to any attempt at change. Phase 1. Threat detection. Your brain has a constant surveillance system managed by the amygdala. This system evolved to keep you alive in hostile environments. It monitors everything you do for patterns of energy expenditure. Any activity that seems to cost more energy than the established pattern triggers an alert. And a new habit is seen as pure energy expenditure because it hasn't generated a reward yet. It hasn't proven its value yet. You're asking your body to invest energy in something your brain classifies as uncertain. Dr. Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist at Stanford School of Medicine, measured amygdala activation in people starting new habits. What he found was shocking. In the first 14 days, amygdala activation is greater than the activation of the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for rational decisions. To translate, your emotional brain is screaming louder than your logical brain. You know the habit is good. You have rational reasons. But the amygdala doesn't care about reasons. It cares about patterns. And its pattern says, this costs energy. We have no guarantee of return. Abort mission. This isn't weakness. It's biology. Phase 2, dopamine suppression. This is where most people fall apart. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter of motivation and reward. Every time you do something your brain classifies as good, dopamine is released, and you feel that sense of satisfaction, of it was worth it. But a new habit doesn't generate dopamine in the first few days because the brain hasn't associated it with reward yet. You go to the gym, you exert yourself, you come home, and you feel nothing. No euphoria, no sense of accomplishment, just exhaustion. And the next day, the resistance is greater. because the brain has learned, yesterday I spent energy and received no reward. Why would I do it again? Charles Duhigg documented this in The Power of Habit. He discovered that the human brain needs an average of 66 days of repetition before it starts consistently releasing dopamine linked to a new behavior. 66 days, and most people give up in 21. You were giving up 3 weeks before your brain started to cooperate. Julia Carmichael was 29 years old when she decided to run every morning. She lived in Portland, worked as a financial analyst. She bought new sneakers, downloaded a workout app, woke up at 6 in the morning on the first day. She ran 3 kilometers. She came home expecting to feel the euphoria everyone talks about. She felt nothing, just exhaustion. Day 2, same thing. Day 7, the resistance was unbearable. She told me in an interview, "I thought there was something wrong with me." Everyone says running releases endorphins, that you feel that energy. I just felt like going back to bed. She gave up on day 18 and spent 2 years believing she wasn't made for running. Until she discovered Duhigg's study and understood. She was giving up 48 days before her brain started to cooperate. It wasn't her fault. It was wrong timing. Say this out loud. I am not the problem. The timing was wrong. Phase 3, activation of escape behavior. This is the final phase, and it's the most brutal. When the amygdala detects a threat and dopamine doesn't compensate for the effort, the brain activates what neuroscientists call the avoidance response. It's the same mechanism that makes you swerve away from a snake on the trail. Automatic, instantaneous, unconscious, and you wake up on day 21 and simply can't get out of bed. It's not a decision, it's a reflex. Your brain has classified the habit as a threat, and the escape behavior has been activated. Napoleon Hill observed this in Edwin C. Barnes. Barnes was 28 years old when he decided to work with Thomas Edison. He sold everything he owned, took a freight train to New Jersey, knocked on Edison's lab door and said, "I've come to work with you." Edison looked at him and saw a man with no money, no credentials, nothing but conviction. And yet, he gave him an assistant's job. Low pay, basic tasks, no promise of partnership. Barnes worked 5 years in this condition, 5 years watching Edison close deals with other partners, 5 years feeling the temptation to go home. And every morning the internal resistance was brutal. His brain screamed, "You're wasting time. You're spending energy on something that won't pay off. Go home." But Barnes had something 94% of people don't have. He had a desire so defined, so specific, that it created a vivid future reward sufficient to overcome the brain's defense system. He visualized the partnership with Edison every day, not as fantasy, as an inevitable fact. And in the 6th year, Edison launched a new machine and didn't know how to sell it. Barnes raised his hand, and Edison saw in him for the first time the partner Barnes had always said he would be. The partnership was sealed. Barnes became a millionaire. Napoleon Hill called this burning desire. Neuroscience calls it anticipatory reward visualization. It's the same mechanism, and it's the only way to hack the neurological self-sabotage cycle. You don't need more willpower. You need immediate reward that tricks your brain's surveillance system. And this has a technique. This has a structure. And you're about to learn it now. Quick question. How many times have you started a new habit thinking the problem was a lack of discipline, when in reality it was your reward strategy? Let me know in the comments what the last habit you gave up was and why you think that happened. I want to see if you can already spot the neurological pattern working against you. And if this content is resonating with you, hit that like button, because what's coming next will show you how to break that cycle once and for all. The problem was never your discipline, it was your reward strategy. And while you thought you were battling laziness, you were actually shadowboxing. You couldn't see the enemy, you couldn't name the mechanism. And every defeat seemed to confirm that you were weak, but you weren't weak. You were using the wrong instruction manual for your own mind. The shift in perspective starts here. You're not someone who can't form habits. You're someone who was trying to form habits without understanding your brain's operating system. And now that you understand, everything changes. I'm going to give you the framework that neuroscience has validated and that Napoleon Hill used 80 years before it even had a name. It's called immediate reward architecture, and it has 3 pillars. Pillar 1, reward within the first 5 minutes. The human brain cannot process future rewards as real. It only recognizes what is happening now. So, if you want your brain to cooperate with a new habit, you need to create a reward that occurs within 5 minutes of performing the habit. For example, you go to the gym. The real benefit, a healthier body, more energy, will take months. The brain doesn't care about that. But if you create an immediate reward, a song you love that you only listen to after your workout, a coffee you only drink after you get back, the brain starts to associate the habit with pleasure, and resistance decreases. Dr. B.J. Fogg calls this artificial reward. It's not cheating, it's strategy. You're tricking your brain's surveillance system until natural dopamine starts to be released. And when that happens, you won't need the artificial reward anymore. The habit will sustain itself. Pillar 2, radical scope reduction. 94% of people fail because they start too big. I'm going to run 5 kilometers every day. I'm going to meditate 30 minutes every morning. I'm going to study 2 hours every night. The brain looks at this and sees a massive threat. Too much energy expenditure, too much risk, and it immediately activates the defense system. The strategy that works is the opposite. Start so small that the brain doesn't even notice. Fogg documented this with the concept of tiny habits. If you want to create the habit of running, start by putting on your shoes and walking to the door. That's it. Don't run. Just put on your shoes and go to the door. Do that for 7 days. It sounds ridiculous, but the brain learns that putting on shoes and going to the door doesn't cost significant energy. Resistance decreases, and on the 8th day, you'll naturally want to take a step outside. And on the 15th, you'll want to run 100 meters, and on the 30th, you'll be running 3 kilometers without even realizing it. Napoleon Hill talked about this when he described the concept of a definite plan. He said, "It's not the size of the plan that matters. It's the clarity of the first action. If the first action is so clear that you cannot doubt it, the rest will follow." Robert Callahan was 32 years old when he read Think and Grow Rich in 1941. He worked as an accountant in Chicago. He wanted to open his own office but didn't know where to start. He wrote a letter to Napoleon Hill asking for guidance. Hill replied with one sentence, "What is the first thing you can do tomorrow that costs nothing and gets you 1 millimeter closer to your goal?" Callahan thought. And the answer was, write a list of 5 potential clients. That's all. He wrote the list the next day, and the day after that, he called a name on the list. And the day after that, he scheduled a meeting. And 6 months later, he had 15 clients and his own office. He didn't start with the complete plan. He started with the action his brain couldn't reject. And the rest followed. Say this out loud. I don't need the complete plan. I need the first clear action. Pillar 3, visualization with physical address. Napoleon Hill called this burning desire. Neuroscience calls it mental simulation with sensory anchoring. It's the same thing, and it's the most powerful weapon against the self-sabotage cycle. It works like this. Every night, before going to sleep, you visualize the habit you will perform the next day. But you don't visualize vaguely. You visualize with sensory details. You see the environment. You feel the temperature. You hear the sounds. You feel your body's movement. If the habit is running, you visualize. I will wake up, put on the shoes that are next to the bed, open the door, feel the cold air on my face, take the first step on the sidewalk. The more specific, the more real it becomes for the brain. And when the brain simulates an action with sensory details, it starts to release dopamine before you perform it. This creates a bridge. The brain begins to see the habit not as a threat, but as something that has already happened, and resistance drops. Edwin C. Barnes did this every day. He visualized his partnership with Edison with such clarity that he could see the contract being signed. He could feel the handshake. And when the opportunity arose, his brain didn't hesitate because it had already happened hundreds of times in his mind. From today on, you are no longer someone who tries to form habits. You are a reward architect, someone who understands their own brain's operating system and uses that understanding to hack internal resistance. You are not the problem. The problem was the strategy. And now you have the right strategy. There's a detail neuroscience has only recently uncovered that no one is talking about. A mistake 87% of people make in the second week of a new habit, one that completely undoes everything they've built up to that point. It's not procrastination. It's not a lack of discipline. It's a specific type of self-sabotage that happens precisely when you think you're making progress. And if you make this mistake, you're back to square one, without even realizing it, without understanding why. The name of this mistake is the false mastery effect, and it destroys more habits than anything else. You're not broken. You never were broken. You were just using the wrong instruction manual for your own mind. And now that you know this, everything that happened before takes on a different meaning. Every failed attempt wasn't a character flaw. It was a strategy flaw. Every time you gave up wasn't because you were weak. It was because you were fighting a biological defense system without knowing it existed. 94% of people keep losing because they keep believing the comfortable lie. The lie that says the problem is a lack of willpower. The lie that keeps you buying the next solution, the next course, the next book that promises this time it will be different. But it's never different because the strategy is the same and the strategy is wrong. But you are no longer part of the 94%. As of today, you are someone who understands the neurological self-sabotage cycle. Someone who knows that the amygdala will scream for the first 14 days, that dopamine will only appear after 66 days of repetition, that the escape behavior will be activated every time the brain detects energy expenditure without immediate reward, and that all of this is biology, not your fault. You are no longer someone who tries to build habits. You are a reward architect. Someone who understands the operating system of their own brain and uses that understanding to hack internal resistance. And with this new identity comes a new responsibility. The challenge is this: grab a sheet of paper. Now, before doing anything else, write down a single habit you want to create. Just one, not three, not five, one. And next to that habit, write down an immediate reward, something you will do in the 5 minutes following the execution of the habit, something your brain recognizes as instant pleasure. A song, a coffee, 5 minutes of something you love, and after that, write down the first action, the action so small that your brain cannot reject it. Not run 5 kilometers, but put on your shoes and go to the door, and not meditate 30 minutes, but sit down and take 3 deep breaths and not study 2 hours, but open the book and read 1 page. Do this before you go to sleep tonight, and tomorrow morning when the alarm rings and internal resistance appears, because it will appear, You will remember that it's not your fault, it's biology, and you have the strategy that 94% of people don't have. You have immediate reward architecture, and you will use it. Say this out loud now. I am not the problem. The strategy was incomplete, and now I have the complete strategy. Napoleon Hill said in 1937, "The starting point of all achievement is desire." But what he didn't say, because he didn't have the language, is that desire needs structure. It needs immediate reward. It needs an action so small that the brain cannot reject it, and it needs repetition for long enough until natural dopamine takes over. You have all of this now, and with this, you are no longer part of the 94% who fail. You are part of the 6% who understand, who apply, who win, not because they are better, but because they have the complete map. And the map is in your hand now.